Welcome to the Employee to Boss podcast, a podcast for everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. Every week, I am joined by successful guests in all different industries and stages of business who will share what their experience was like transitioning from employee to boss. Expect action steps, inspiration, and hot topics. This is a resource for you if you're wanting to start a business, go all in on your side hustle, get to the next level in your thriving business, or just hear what it's like taking the leap to becoming your own boss. Business can be very lonely, but it does not have to be. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast production agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. Let's dive into today's topic. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, and today we are talking all about sales. So my guest is Simon Severino. Simon is a TEDx speaker, podcast host ranking in the top 2.5%, Forbes contributor, and triathlete. Simon has created $2 billion in additional sales for his clients over the last 21 years. Simon is the author of Strategy Sprints, as well as the CEO of his company, Strategy Sprints. As an advisor who became CEO, he had to learn the importance of working on the business rather than in it. So in this episode, Simon is sharing insightful sales strategies, including the importance of conversation starters, as well as the biggest mistakes in sales. This episode, I think that you will learn a lot from, especially since so many entrepreneurs don't want to talk about sales. Sales is probably the hardest part of business for most people. And so this episode shares step-by-step tools on how to actually grow your business through sales. There's a lot to learn, so make sure that you bring your pen and paper. And if you're interested in learning more about anything we talked about today, all those links are in the show notes, and you are more than welcome to reach out to either Simon or myself. All right, enjoy this episode. Hey, Simon, thank you so much for joining me on the Employee to Boss podcast. I am so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so if you wanted to start off by telling us more about yourself and what you do and this amazing business that you've created, I'm excited to learn more.
I am here to help entrepreneurs double sales in 90 days. That is my superpower. And sales is a couple parts. You have to start conversations, you have to get them more interesting, and you have to evolve them into a commitment to work together. Okay, let's get started. So these three parts are what sales is. So everybody is in sales, basically. If you run a business, you are in sales, if you want it or not. And this is what I do. I help entrepreneurs double their revenue in 90 days. And I do this via online coaching. And I'm 22 years, day in and day out. The way we do it changed. But basically, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing because before we got on this call, I was mentioning how a lot of people I know now, even 4, 5, 6 years into business, hate selling. They're like, I hate discovery calls. I hate sales calls. Like, I hate it. And I'm like, how can you hate it? That's literally what owning a business is about. You cannot have a business without sales. At that point, it's just a hobby, right?
Well, let's double click into that. If they say, I hate it, the interesting thing is what is their image of it? Because nobody would say, I hate the Dalai Lama. And I've never heard that. But I've heard a lot of people say, I hate used car sales people. So there is a specific image associated with that, right? This car guy, this sleazy guy, that's somebody who does not listen to me, is not interested in me, and just wants to push something onto me. So there is a manipulative element, negative manipulation in there. Whereas the Dalai Lama, everybody wants to sit with the Dalai Lama. Even if you don't know who he is, you see him, you want to sit with him. Why? Because we associate with that we can be as we are seen, we are heard, and we will be laughing.
Yeah, that's such a good way
So,
to think about it.
and now, when people say they hate sales, we can double check. Does the Dalai Lama sell? They would say,
Mm.
no, no. Oh, yeah, he does. Oh, yeah. He got me. He got hundreds of people. He got thousands of people buying into what he says, what he teaches,
Yeah.
what he stands for.
Hmm.
So, yes, even the Dalai Lama is in sales. And, and he would laugh about it, right? He would say, I don't know specifically what he would say about sales, but he would uh, probably make a joke about it. And even that joke would make you want be more around him and
Yeah.
hear more from him.
Yeah.
So it would work.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. So, how did you get to this place where you are the sales expert? Tell us more about your journey from what you used to do to becoming your own boss.
So probably similar to everyone listening here. I've never thought about sales or wanted to be in sales or was even interested in sales or money or anything like that. I just had my own superpower, which is helping of their problems. And so I'm kind of a psychologist kind of guy, right? Where people see me, they tell me their biggest challenges. This is what happens with people when they meet me. And and I like it. And I like big challenges. So I ask even more questions, and then we get going and we get into the journey of solving that. And so I was a management consultant for years. And when you're a management consultant, you need to bring your own projects. Nobody will feed you the project. It's a very independent situation. It's a very competitive situation. There are hundreds around you, and everybody wants to have the best projects. So you have to kind of qualify to get them. And the best qualification is just to bring them. Just bring your own food is how management consulting works. And then you either go up the ladder if you bring enough food or you're out. It's as simple as that. It's a simple black and white world.
Hmm.
And for years, I went on my own and I had to now specifically do sales. So I had to think about it. How do I actually bring clients? I don't know. And then I asked around, how do you guys do it?
Hmm.
And and so I started thinking about it from a methodical side. I didn't know what I'm doing. I was just, meeting people, talking to people, listening to people. Whenever I would hear problems, I would start solving them. I would read books, but I didn't know what is it that I'm doing that actually brings more work. And what can I do if there is less work to actively create work? That piece I was completely missing. I didn't know how to create pipeline when there is no pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally started Googling pipeline management, how to fill pipeline. I landed on YouTube. I
Yeah.
found some stuff. Not really helpful, a little bit confusing. So I was okay, I have to go deeper. I have to go deeper. And then I had business coaches myself. And that was more helpful because they were actually listening, applying it to my own situation, then sending me to specific books and specific videos that were the right content for what I was able to digest and to implement. So I learned, oh, that's the power of a sales coach. They hear where you are and then they select the right task, the right practice, the right challenge, the right content for
Hmm.
exactly the situation where you are. A little bit bigger than you can do, but not small enough that you stay in your comfort zone.
Right.
And this is how I started understanding what the actual steps are. And every time I was learning something, I was obviously writing it down for myself. Now, fast forward 22 years later, I have a lot of notes. Those notes became the 274 templates of the Sprint University, which is
Mm-hmm.
now and overall the strategy sprints method. So people watching see these three models here. Those are three of the core models of the strategy thought. And we can pick some of those and go deeper into that. But basically, by doing and then by writing down what works, in the end, I had a compilation of working practices that I call tools. And then I started sharing them with my own clients. And this is how the strategy sprints method was born.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're in a really unique area where you're selling your sales advice or you're selling your sales knowledge. And so to do that, you obviously first have to sell your client. And it sounds like in the beginning you were working one on one with a lot of clients, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have to sell to them about their sales problems to fix their sales problems. But at the base of it, you have to be a great salesperson and then also a great advisor. There's a lot of
It,
selling that goes into that.
yeah, this was awkward in the beginning because I felt observed all the time. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not just starting to work with this person. They're also continuously observing how I do it, right?
Mhm. Exactly, exactly.
But it was, and it is a pressure
Mhm.
situation. And many of my friends, they were like, Simon, isn't that a total pressure situation? Everybody's looking all the time at how you sell. And I said, you know what? I have 3 kids. So I'm continuously under observation. If I
Mm,
eat sugar and then I tell somebody that I'm not eating sugar, I have 3 kids. Okay. So 4 people in my house that will tell me, oh, last Friday you ate sugar. I saw you.
right.
So I'm under pressure anyways. So
Yeah.
okay. From now on, I am there is no there is no way of hiding anything. There is no chance to lie. There is a moment of magic in this because now I have to live in full integrity, in full truth. And this is a great practice, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. And one thing, I interview a lot of entrepreneurs on this podcast in all different industries. And one commonality that I see is most likely we were all our first client. And to be a great salesperson, you had to learn all these sales techniques. So, when you first started to go off on your own, I know you probably learned a lot when you were selling for companies and had sales coaches, but what were the first things that you did to increase your sales and become a better seller?
I did install 3 habits: daily habit, weekly habit, monthly habit. That
Mhm.
was the third, because when you are an entrepreneur, you have so many moving parts. And even if you want to prioritize something, the week pass it flies by so quickly. So you need an operating system. You need a structure of your week. First thing that I started was the daily habit. And this is a tool that people can download from our website, strategysprints.com. So it's called the daily flow. Is I write down how I allocated my time today. So what did I do 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m.? And then it asks me 2 questions in the evening when I close down my computer, which is closing down my workday. It asks me 2 reflective questions before I write down what will be the schedule of tomorrow.
Mhm.
First question, Simon, of all the tasks that you did today, which one will you delegate tomorrow? Second question, if you would live more intentionally and more freely, what would you do tomorrow? I answered those 2 things and then I create the schedule for the next day.
Mm.
Now, if you do this day after day, you get into the groove of finding things that you commit to delegating. You don't know yet how to delegate, but that's not important. The important is that you commit to getting rid of them.
Mhm.
I started with the things where I suck at, like bookkeeping and everything that I don't like doing and everything where I'm not great at doing it. I started delegating those things. And then later on, full departments, like the whole marketing department and then the whole operations department. I fired myself from the client work. And so but that was a continuous process and it started with the daily flow. You don't do it all at once. You start with the daily flow one day after the other, and then you get the snowball rolling. So that was the daily habit. And this is probably a practice that everybody can try. If they want a template, they can get it at strategysprints.com. But it's really just, how did you allocate your time today? What will you delegate tomorrow? What would you do if you would live more freely and intentionally? The second thing that I did was the weekly habit. So, what most entrepreneurs don't know is, am I doing the right things? Yes or no? And you need to notice on a weekly basis. So, we do the weekly dashboard every Friday because we had the whole week. And now on Friday, we look at three numbers: the marketing number of that week, the sales number of that week, and the ops number. That's the client delivery number of that week. We pick three metrics that tell us if we are doing the right thing in the right way. So, for example, a marketing number that many of our clients pick is number of new subscribers this week. Can be
Mhm.
subscribers to your email, or people who downloaded something from your website this week. A sales number of that week is closed deals or number of discovery calls. A ops number, client delivery number, can be number of referrals that you received from current clients, or how satisfied are our clients. For example, the NPS number, the net promoter score. So with these three numbers in place, every Friday you come from a week of doing, and now on Friday you sit down for half an hour, you look at these three numbers: current number, target number, and you just reflect, did we do the right things? Oh, here there is a little spike, there is 0.2% upwards spike. What happened? Is it the strength of a person, of a process, of a product? Let's learn from it, so next week we do more of that and less of the rest. So that was the weekly habit. Also very important, because otherwise you're flying blind. You're doing so many things, but you don't know if you're doing the right things.
That's also what makes it repeatable, right? You have to first see what you're doing, what actions. And I like how you choose three main ones because a lot of new entrepreneurs and businesses start off trying to focus on too many things at once. And
Yes,
then it's like, what's actually working?
it's easy to get distracted and to get
Hmm.
into science, but it's not really helping you. The week is so short. Pick the three most important, improve them
Yeah.
by 1% every week, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then there's the monthly habit. So the monthly habit, orange thing here, the monthly habit is on one page: our 3 years vision, the 1 year's goals, and the 90 days activities. It's all on that little one pager in front of us. And we call it the focus card. You can also download it on strategysprints.com. And the focus card, we really use it every time we feel that we're doing too much. Like
Hmm.
if I'm in a week and I feel totally scattered and busy, but this negative form of busy, like I'm stressed,
Yeah.
I'm too driven, I'm hectic, then I say, okay, stop. I go for a run, I come back, and I check my focus card, because there is just so limited space on the focus card. So automatically I will have to prioritize and pick the five main activities that really matter in in the year and in the quarter. And then with those five, usually I relax, I have some clarity, and now I can continue to work and I don't feel stressed anymore.
That's really powerful just to be able to calm down and see and, you know, just picking your main initiatives is something that I think a lot of people, when they start businesses, don't do because they don't know what's going to work, what to do next. And so, having a mentor and having a strategy definitely, definitely help with that. And, as you were saying, you started off really working one on one with clients, and now it seems like you really impact a lot of people with your work. You have a top rated podcast, you're a TEDx speaker, you've written a book, you write for Forbes. There's a lot that you do to teach people about sales. And I would love to hear, like, what are some of the commonalities you see in all of your 22 years of selling and teaching sales? Like, what are some of the most common problems? And then I want to get into learning some repeatable steps to sales too.
Yeah. So the common mistakes that I see, because I get their sales recordings and
Mm,
I give them feedback. So I get 5, 6 sales recordings per week on average, and I give them feedback. First thing that I see is they don't open it up the right way. They don't have a mini contract. Hey, welcome to this, let's say, discovery call or initial call or demo call, however they they name it. This is what's going to happen in the next 45 minutes. And what is your agenda point? Those are my agenda points. This will be the outcome, or that will be the outcome. Do you agree? So, this is what we call a mini contract. And you need a mini contract, otherwise, it won't be a sales call.
mm,
So, if you don't start with a mini contract, you you won't sell anything because it's not a sales conversation. It's just a conversation. And this is where people get frustrated because, yeah, but I'm talking to so many people and I'm helping them, but they never pay. Yeah, well, you never ask for. So most people, they are just too nice. And I was like that. Yeah, we just start working and we don't have mini contracts. And we're just there to help. And so we give, never get anything back. That's one thing that I see. The other thing that I see is people talking too much. So the highest win rate is when the buyer's talk time is around 28%. And mostly I see talking time in the 50%, 60%. The younger the people, the more they talk. And the less experience in sales they have, the more they talk. So they
hmm
think they have to pitch something. And this ties back to why people hate sales, because they think they have to perform something. Some people hype themselves up. They jump on a trampoline before they go on a sales call. Why? I don't have to hype myself up. Other people, they picture something before they go, like an athlete going into. No, no, no. Relax, guys. Nothing of that. It's more like going to lunch with a friend. That's
Yeah.
it. You just check that you are dressed appropriately and you're fine. You don't do much. So they come with a lot of pressure. And how you see it is that they talk too much.
Mm. I can totally think of like my best sales call that I've been being sold to, and then the worst. And I remember the best person that was selling to me asked me questions. I answered, I gave a lot of details, and he didn't really talk throughout the whole thing. And then at the end, recapped the entire sales call. Like, knew exactly what I said. Like, the act of listening was, I was like, this is a talent in itself. And so I totally see what you mean. If someone's trying to sell to me, or any of the listeners, if they're trying to sell and they talk too much, you could say the wrong thing and ruin it, right? Easily.
Yeah. And how was the worst one?
The worst one, I think I said about two things, and she just went on and on and on. And I was like, how much does this cost? Why? Like, it didn't, I did not convert on that one just because it felt more salesy, right? It felt like I was just being sold to rather than being listened to. And so it was for business coaching. And in my head, I was like, if I haven't talked and she doesn't know anything about me, how is she going to help my business? You know?
Exactly. Yes. So we have a sprinter on our team. He says that when he does his best sales, people don't even remember that he was there. It's really not about the seller. It's really about the buyer
hmm
looking for a solution to something and they're trying to take their best decision. And then there are people helpful in that decision. They will get the job. And people not helpful, they
hmm
won't get the job.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's really interesting to see. And do you recommend people record their sales calls so they can go listen to it after?
Yes. So that is the first step into being a professional and into becoming better at anything, but
Mhm.
specifically in sales, because if you think of any basketball player, tennis player, they watch their recording. Now you can say, doesn't a tennis player know how to stand on their leg? I think they know how to stand on their legs. So why do they watch 30 minutes of leg work, right? Well, because just improving by 1% the angle of your knee in a specific moment makes the difference between 15 points or 0 points, right? That's 1%.
Hmm.
And those 15 points, they compound to a match, and the match compounds to a championship. So pros, they care about the 1% and they practice the fundamentals, leg work, how you hold your hands, how which words do you use. So in sales is which words do you use, how much you are able to shut up and listen, the quality of your listening, the quality of your questions, and the overall talk time, their body language, your body language. Those are all things where you can get better at, but just improving them slightly. So I record still my sales calls, and same thing with our clients. They give us each week their worst sales call and the best sales call,
Mm.
and we practice.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's that's a good tip. And I'm sure there's someone listening who's thinking, hell no, I don't want to go back and listen to it's hard listening to ourselves sometimes, but that's really where the growth happens.
You know what's interesting? The first time it's awkward.
Hmm.
After a couple weeks, your spouse says, "Hey, what exactly are you doing at work that's different?" And you go, "Why? Why?" Well, it's kind of having dinner with you is more fun now. And I go,
Mm.
"Oh, well, I don't know. I'm working on my communication in my business." I said, "Yeah, I can see that. You listen more."
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. I love that. So it works in multiple different areas of life.
It translates to parenthood, to being a better
Yeah.
friend. It translates to many
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And, one of the things that you teach is how to repeat success and repeat successful sales. And can you give us some of those tips? I would love to learn more of those because, if you're listening to your recordings and you're seeing what's not working, how can we then translate that into something that is going to work continuously?
Yeah. Let's double click into the next two models. And for people watching, it's the yellow model is the 8 steps of the repeatable sales, and the blue model is your strategic value. And both can be downloaded on strategysprints.com later. So the 8 steps of the repeatable sale, there are 8 very specific things that we have to get right in that exact order. Some people do the right things, but in the wrong order.
Mm.
For example, saying the price too early. That's a classic. You don't say any price before you are at step 6. And most people say it at step 2, step 3, step 1, whenever they get asked. And you will get asked very quickly about the price. And the more frustrated you are, the earlier you ask for it, because it's the best exit option. It's the best polite reason to say no. Oh, that's too
Mhm.
expensive. Bye bye. Oh, I don't have the budget. Bye bye. So you don't say that. And even the worst one, you asked about the price pretty early because you were so frustrated. So
Yes, I
the
wanted off that call for
yeah,
sure.
you want off. You say, okay, bring me to the end of this. What's the price? Bye bye. Send me an
Yeah,
offer. Yeah, yeah, cool. Send me an offer. Bye.
great,
So
great.
this is how you not close a deal. It's step 6, and this is why we have to practice those 8 steps. And in each step, I want them to have 2 powerful questions that they feel great with. I will give them some ideas and options and share mine, but they have to find their voice and their questions. And it really depends on what they are selling. And when we have 2 powerful questions per step, now their so-called sales script is ready. And this is what we are gonna go and practice, because now they have to find the questions that really feel best and feel real, because it must be 100% natural. It can't be scripted. As soon as something is scripted,
Mm.
selling thing. So it must be natural, must be your words, but they must be so powerful that the other side stops, pauses, and really something starts working in them. And you see them because they get going. And before that question, they are just answering short answers, very cognitive, not really emotional. And after that question, you see them really get going, like two friends eating lunch and they didn't see each other for a ton of time, and they're wah, 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 and they're sharing really a lot. So that's the body language that you want to see on the other side. Then cool, okay, we can move on to the next question,
Hmm.
and the next question, and next question, and next question. This is the natural flow, and that makes it repeatable because now you have 16 questions that work, and you have them in a specific order in those 8 steps. Now it's repeatable. Now you put them literally in front of you. I have my 16 questions here in front of me, and I'm looking at them. It's even if I know them by now, doesn't matter. It's like the tennis player. He knows that he has legs, but it's about getting 1% better.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, that's all of business, right? You have to get better every day.
Yeah. Yes. That is it. That's the eternal situation.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So, for repeatable sales, having the same questions you're asking, making sure that you're listening and the other person that you're speaking to is feeling comfortable. What comes next? Everything you do in business comes with practice. So, if anyone's listening and they've only done one sales call or zero sales call, probably the first step is just to do more sales calls. But what after that?
Well, the good thing is if you record just 50 of them, that's enough.
Mm.
The learning curve is so steep, much steeper than other practices or disciplines. In sales, you learn it really quickly. You just do 50 calls, you review them, um, and if you have a framework, for example, those 8 steps, now after 50 calls, you have an amazing 8 step framework in front of you. You have your 16 questions. You're just optimizing your talk time and practicing that awkward silence until you see that it's okay. They get going when you pause. They get going, and then you see them on a roll, and you go cool. And then you ask them, okay, what's the next step? And they go, when can I start?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the
So
exciting part. That's where it starts to get easier for you, right?
that's the chirging. That's
Yes.
sales. This is the sweet sound of closed deals.
I love that. I love that. So, you help a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses through your sales strategies. And you've mentioned quite a few resources that we can get from your website that I think will be good for any stage of business. But, normally when you're working with businesses or brands, what stage of business are they and who do you typically help?
Yeah, we're working with solopreneurs. We have a group format for that. And we're working
Mm.
with mid-sized businesses. We have a one-on-one format for that. The solopreneurs, we meet them every Monday in the 200K club. And that is really dedicated to look at how they fill pipeline and then how they practice closing. So how they increase the win rate from that pipeline. So increasing the frequency of hearing that sweet sound, chigging, 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 chigging,
Mhm.
and getting into practice. And every time we come together, we start with wins of the week. So you hear already, oh, Peter closed 60K. Bravo, Peter. Bravo, Peter. And then Laura, oh, Laura, the 17K. Bravo, Laura. Bravo, Laura. Now, when it's your turn, you have much more confidence. Hey, if they can close 60K, I can close.
Yeah.
So we have also this, there is a collective energy in there, and all that we do and share and say in there feeds that collective energy. So when we come together on Monday, there is already a spirit in there, an effervescence, and it's like sparkling water. Right? We come in and there is already some sparkle going. Easier to get the week started. That's why it's on a Monday, so that we are really in the right mood and we feel confident. We have the tools and we are ready. We are energized to close deals during that week.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for anyone who is a solopreneur and is interested in the 200K club, can you tell us a little bit more about that offer and where people can go find more information online?
Sure. So the information is at strategysprints.com. And it's really every Monday we come together. My job as the host of that meeting is to create this atmosphere that is inspiring, where it's safe enough for you to share everything that you're struggling with, but
Mhm.
towards the middle of the session it flips into solution, so that we are all energized and go, come on, come on, go, go, let's finish this meet, sell
Yeah.
something. That's the 60 minutes. And then during the whole week we have a 24/7 Slack group where we tag each other quickly and so, guys, I tried this, look at this, I did this webinar, this is converting so much more, you have to do this. Oh, I didn't think about that. By the way, I have a new YouTube editor. My short videos, they bring in so much pipeline. Look at this editor. Ooh, can I afford them? And so it's
Mhm.
100 little questions during the week, and then in the Monday session really focusing on pipeline, filling pipeline, closing deals, and next steps.
That's powerful. Just having a community like that to get help from and celebrate with can be the difference between like major success and just staying where you are. And so I love that it is focused to solopreneurs. I am a solopreneur, and in my business, I try not to make it look like that with the way I market and the work I do and the products I put out. But having a resource like that where you could see what other people are doing, how they're doing it all alone, but not because they have you and this whole community. That's really powerful.
Yes, and thank you for saying that, because as a solopreneur, we are faking all the time that we are this huge organization. We are cool
Yeah.
like Coca-Cola, right? And we can help you like Coca-Cola. But then we feel like, oh my God, I'm faking it, I'm faking it, I'm faking it. Hopefully nobody's seeing it. And so it feels terrible. And we would never share it, of course. But, we go to sleep and we feel it. So we don't have a board of experts that we can ask for strategy, like, hey, should I do this or should I do that? And we have this constant feeling that there is a bigger brand out there that we should be, but we are not yet. And so when we come together in the Monday session, we actually have that board, and we
Mhm.
have the complexity of the big brands, because I'm good at sales, somebody else is good at marketing, and another guy from us in the Monday meeting, he's the webinar guru. Arno is the mindset guru. Neil is the vitality guru. Zorina is the YouTube guru. So we have superpowers, diverse, and we become like a team for each other.
Yeah.
So if I have a YouTube question, I ask Zorina, right? And if she has a webinar question, she asks Simone.
Mhm.
So together we are stronger, and now we have that team that that is great to have, and that we usually don't have as a solopreneur. But we have that in the Monday situation and 24/7 in Slack. So it's on our phone. I can ask, I can tag all the time. That feels really different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a lot of help and what a lot of solopreneurs need. So that's amazing that you've created this. And I'll put the link in the show notes for anyone who's interested in checking out more. Another spot that I wanted to ask you about is your podcast. So, as I mentioned, I'm a podcast manager and I just geek out about all things podcast. So, Can you tell us why you started your podcast and how it helps in your business? You're ranking at the top 2.5%. So what you're doing is definitely working, and I would love to hear more.
The best form of marketing is being who you are, explaining your journey from A to B, like the real journey that you are on, and then inviting other people to be part of the journey. That's the best
Mhm.
marketing. Think of Netflix series are like that, right? Oh, my daughter got kidnapped. I have to go down there to Colombia and find her. Will I find her? I don't know. Are you interested? Heck yes, I'm interested. I want to see if you find her, right? So that
Yeah.
journey is interesting. It's not even my daughter, but I feel it as if it was my daughter, right? So because it's a journey from A to B and we don't know what's going to happen, that's interesting. So my YouTube channel, I pick always something that is my current journey. So the last 5 years, it was, hey, I'm building my franchise. I have how to build franchises. Are you interested? Let's find out. Will I be successful? Let's find out. My business is running. Now the next challenge is, okay, I learned with you in public how to make money via sales. Now I'm learning how to keep my money. I don't know how to keep money,
Mhm.
but I will learn it. So I'm on my way to financial freedom. I'm learning to invest my money. If you are interested, here, I'm doing it in public. You will see my portfolio, my decisions, my research process. So if you're interested, if you are also on this journey, you and and that's now the YouTube channel, Simon Severino. So I'm reflecting what is my own journey, because that's real and it's emotional and it's interesting to me. It's even urgent because it's my life and it's what I'm trying to solve. I'm a father of three, and I'm somebody who wants to learn to keep money.
Mhm.
So, and that's the current journey that I'm sharing once per week. It's interesting. And if it's interesting for other people, they will subscribe and be part of that journey.
Yeah, I love that. And what benefits have you seen it for your business? What benefits have you seen?
Chigging. So when people subscribe, the magic starts, because a podcast means that you let somebody into your ear for half an hour, maybe twice a week. Now, there are people who have three kids and their spouse doesn't have half an hour uninterrupted attention from them, even
Mhm.
if they want it, but they're so busy.
Right. Yeah.
So it is something really, really special to have, let's say, just 30 people that let you into their ear for half an hour every week. That's amazing. It's mind share. And mind share is the first step of filling pipeline,
Mhm.
because in the middle of the journey, you can say, by the way, guys, I'll have a workshop soon. It's a workshop about how you can increase your pricing power. If you want to come to the workshop, here's the workshop. Boom, you fill an event. If in that event you are doing a good job, then they will want more. Then you can say, by the way, guys, you can book a time with me. Here's my calendar link. Boom, you have a discovery call. If you have an 8 steps process, you will listen, 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 then make an offer. Boom, you're selling $25,000. So, in a nutshell, having a good marketing channel around a journey can be a direct money maker if you have a story arc from A to B. If some time in between you make a call to action that
Mhm.
converts, and if then when they are in the call, you have 8 steps on how to close that deal, that translates directly into business.
Yeah, look at that right there, that pipeline. That's perfect. And I feel like podcasting is one of the least utilized marketing techniques out there, but it is one of the most powerful when you do it right. And so pairing it with the story and then the funnels and the CTA and then your 8 steps, that right there could be your whole marketing strategies. And that's really powerful. So, thank you so much for joining me today and thanks for sharing all of your expertise on the podcast. Before we get into your action steps for the week, is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Just don't give up too early, even if it feels hard or complicated. Just persevere. Everybody else will give up before you, and you will win.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I've been in business for 4 years now, and you've been in for 22 years. And I know a lot of the people that I started with no longer have businesses.
You
So
see, this is
in
what
4
happens. You
years,
just
yeah,
persevere.
you just have to keep going. You just have to
Yeah,
keep
just keep
going.
going. Just keep going.
Yeah. So, Simon, every week I ask my guests to share 3 action steps for the audience to take based on the conversation. So instead of just turning off the episode and being like, that was cool, we're actually going to challenge them to do things this week to take it to the next level. So, what do you challenge the audience to do this week?
One challenge: do the daily flow.
Hmm.
So you can use the template, you can grab it from strategysprints.com, and you write down, how did you allocate your time today? What's the one thing that you will delegate tomorrow? And what would you do tomorrow if you would live more freely and intentionally? You do this for 3 days in a row, and I'm happy to give you feedback. You can send them to me, and then I'm happy to give you feedback on those. But you will see, by doing this for 3 days in a row, you will find one thing to delegate next. And that's the beginning of growing a business.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know something else that you talk about that people can come and connect with you on is the importance of working on your business rather than being stuck working in your business. And that is a big topic that it could be a whole nother conversation.
That's the holy grail. But people in their first 5 years of business go, oh my God, how should I do that? I'm not there yet. That's why if you just start with the daily flow, this is
Mhm.
how you get to work on the business. But it's in the daily habit. You have to do it a small daily habit. And then, like a snowball, it will grow week by week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Simon, where can people connect with you and find this resource?
So it's at strategysprints.com. Um, and there is a full tool section where you can download all of these tools that we were talking about. And if people like reading books, there is a full book about it. It's called Strategy Sprints. And that is for our clients, the challenges that they had to solve, like Ali, who had to find out to price his first cohort for his course, the Part Time YouTuber Academy. That's one. Then there is chapter 2. And each chapter solves one problem: the pricing problem, the marketing problem, the hiring problem, like the practical problems that entrepreneurs have. And it's a very practical book. It's like a cookbook full of checklists and things that
Mm.
it can directly apply like a cookbook.
Very cool. Okay, well, I'll put all of that in the show notes. And like I said, Simon, thank you so much. You have a lot of knowledge that you shared on this and a lot of expertise in this field. So I really encourage every listener to go check out your website, maybe see if the 200K Club is for them, or just send you an email.
Thank you. Keep rolling.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes,